The flight attendant stood over seat 2A and spoke as if the matter were already settled. "Our records show you agreed to give up this seat for a priority guest," Lila Harper said. "I'll need you to gather your things and move back to the main cabin." Imani Ellis kept both hands resting on the armrests where they were. Light from the oval window beside her fell across her navy blazer. Her posture was straight. Her face was calm, too calm for the weight being placed on her. "I didn't agree to anything," she said. Lila gave a thin smile, the kind that had been practiced in a mirror. She was polished from collar to heel, the sort of person who believed she could tell who belonged in first class before they even sat down. "The seat was just upgraded for one of our Diamond members," she said, a little louder now, angling so the first 2 rows could hear. "The system has you down as a voluntary change." Across the aisle, a businessman lowered his phone half an inch, then raised it again, already filming. A woman in pearls leaned toward her husband and murmured something Imani didn't catch and didn't need to. Imani looked at the small screen mounted at the attendant station, the one showing the crew note Lila had just entered. She didn't work for the airline, but she had spent 15 years reading operational data exactly like this. She knew what a valid record looked like. She knew that a note logging a passenger's agreement required one specific thing: a confirmation field with the passenger's own consent, time-stamped and attached. She looked at the field on the screen. It was empty. She said nothing about it. She filed it away quietly, in order for later. The time, the flight number, the employee code stitched beside Lila's name. "There's no agreement in that note," Imani said evenly. "Does it have my consent field filled, or is it blank? Open it and show me." Lila's smile tightened. "The system doesn't make mistakes. The system records what someone types into it." "That's not the same thing," Imani said. A man 2 rows back lowered his magazine. Marcus Hale was gray-bearded, with the heavy hands of a man who had worked more years than he'd rested. He had watched Imani board. He had seen her take 2A without a word to anyone. "That lady didn't agree to move," he said. "I've been sitting right here since the doors opened." Lila turned to him. "Sir, please stay out of this." "Hard to stay out of it when somebody's being told they volunteered for something they didn't," Marcus said. The cabin shifted. A few phones tilted slowly away from Imani and toward the woman standing over her. Lila felt it, and her voice sharpened. She tapped a few more keys. Imani could see the second note forming on the screen, the language hardening. "Passenger disruptive, refusing reassigned seat." A conduct note, the kind that followed a frequent flyer into every future booking, the kind that could quietly bar her from premium cabins for good. It was not a hand laid on her. It was a sentence being written about her, line by line, by a woman who assumed no one would ever lay the real version beside it. "I haven't raised my voice," Imani said. "I haven't left my seat. There's nothing disruptive in asking you to open a field that's supposed to have my name in it." "You're delaying the flight," Lila said. "We have people up here who need to get where they're going." "I paid for this seat," Imani said, "and I never agreed to leave it. You can keep saying I did, the record can't." Lila's jaw flexed. She touched her headset and her tone went crisp and official. "I need a manager to first class. I have a passenger refusing a reassigned seat." The phrase moved through the cabin like a cold draft. Refusing a reassigned seat. 3 words that could turn a seated woman into the problem. Imani glanced at her own phone on the tray table. She did not pick it up. She had already sent one short message before any of this hardened. "Preserve the crew note log for this flight before anyone edits it." She turned it face down. Lila saw the motion. "Oh, now she's texting people," she said, loud enough for the rows around them. A few nervous laughs broke out, small and thin. Imani did not look at the laughers. She kept her eyes on the empty field glowing on the attendant's screen, the one place in this whole cabin where the truth had quietly refused to cooperate with Lila Harper. She was not the passenger Lila thought she had cornered. She had spent her career taking records apart, finding the exact line where a story stopped matching the data, and somewhere 2 galleys back, a senior purser had heard the words, "reassigned seat," and was already frowning at a note that should not have existed. Lila had picked the wrong seat to write a lie about. The manager came up the aisle fast because the plane was still parked at the gate when it should have been pushing back. "What's the holdup?" Cole Brennan asked. Lila got to him first. "This passenger won't move. The system says she agreed to give up the seat, and now she's refusing." Cole looked at Imani, navy blazer, hands folded, no panic. That calm seemed to bother him more than shouting would have. "Ma'am, can I see your boarding pass?" he said. Imani handed it over with her ID. He looked at both. The name matched. The seat said 2A. He typed into his tablet. The cabin was quiet enough to hear every tap. The ticket was valid, bought through the airline, checked in, scanned at the gate. Seat 2A. Cole frowned at the screen. "The documents look consistent," he said slowly, "but there may be a system issue we need to sort out." Marcus Hale let out a short laugh. "Her name's right there. What's there to sort out?" "Sir, please," Cole said. He turned back to Imani. "I think the easiest thing is for you to step back to the main cabin while we figure this out." Imani didn't move. "You just confirm my seat is valid." "I confirm the documents look consistent," Cole said. "That's a careful way of avoiding the word right." Imani kept her voice flat and plain. "Here's the only thing that matters. The note says I agreed to move. An agreement needs my consent on it. Open the note and look at the consent field. If it's filled, I'll get up right now. If it's empty, then nobody agreed to anything. And somebody typed that I did." Cole hesitated. He didn't open it. That was when a senior crew member from the back came up the aisle. Elena Vargas was the lead attendant for the rear cabin. She had heard the words, "reassign seat," from 2 galleys away. "Can I see the note?" Elena asked. Lila stiffened. "I've got it handled." Elena leaned over the station screen and read it. Then she straightened up. "A note that says a passenger agreed to change seats has to have a consent entry," she said. "This one's blank. I'm not going to confirm a note that's missing the one field that makes it real." For the first time, Lila's certainty cracked. Imani kept going, calm, asking the kind of questions a person asks when they know the system from the inside. "When was that note entered?" she said. "And who has the access to log a passenger's agreement without the passenger? Because it shouldn't be possible to type she agreed on someone's behalf." Lila didn't have a clean answer. Cole had fewer. The businessman across the aisle, Miles Corbin, had been filming Imani the whole time. He glanced down at his phone and saw the comments moving. "Why won't they just open the note? She's not doing anything. The attendant is the problem." His thumb stopped. For the first time, he wondered if he'd been pointing the camera at the wrong person, and he slowly turned it toward Lila and Cole instead. Imani looked at Cole. "You have the system open right now. You can see there's no consent on that note. You're choosing not to say it out loud." Cole rubbed the back of his neck. "Ma'am, I'm just trying to keep this flight on schedule." "You're trying to protect the note instead of checking it," Imani said. "That's a choice, and everyone here can see you making it." The woman in pearls had stopped whispering. Marcus Hale nodded once, slowly. A couple more phones tilted toward the front, away from Imani. Cole lowered his voice, trying to make it private. "Let's not do this in front of the whole cabin. Step back with me, and we'll resolve it quietly." "You already had quiet," Imani said. "You had it when you opened the system and saw the field was empty. You used that quiet to keep the accusation going, not to fix it." That landed. Cole's shoulders dropped a little. Imani picked up her phone, turned it over, and tapped a contact. She didn't put on a show about it. She just said plainly, "I'd like the captain to come back and open the crew note log on the cabin screen, so everyone can see the entry and the time it was made." Cole blinked. The captain doesn't need to be pulled into a seating issue. "This stopped being a seating issue," Imani said, "the moment someone typed that I agreed to something I didn't. That's not seating. That's a false record." A minute later, the cockpit door opened and Captain Victor Lang stepped out. He looked at the phones, at the manager's pale face, at Lila standing rigid by the galley, and at the calm woman in 2A. "What's going on?" he asked. "I'd like you to open the crew note log for this flight," Imani said, "and look at the consent field on the note that says I gave up my seat." Victor looked at Cole. Cole didn't stop him. The captain turned to the cabin screen and pulled up the log. The entry loaded. The line for the passenger's consent sat there, plainly, in front of everyone. It was blank. The crew note log filled the cabin screen, and everyone read what Lila Harper had been sure no one would check. The note said the passenger in 2A had agreed to give up her seat. The line for the passenger's consent was empty, no signature, no timestamp, nothing. Beside it sat the time the note was entered, and the employee code that entered it. Lila's code. She had typed that Imani agreed. Imani never had, and the system had quietly kept the proof the whole time. Nobody spoke. The quiet wasn't the polite kind anymore. It was the kind people fall into when they realize they almost watched something happen. Captain Lang studied the screen, then turned to Lila. The note says she consented. There's no consent on it. Can you explain that? Lila opened her mouth. Nothing useful came out. Then the captain asked Imani the plain question. Ma'am, may I ask what you do for a living? Imani answered without making a thing of it. I analyze airline operational data. I read crew logs like this one for a living. That's how I knew. The second she said it, that a real consent note can't exist without a consent field. Hers doesn't have one. She didn't pull out a fancy card. She didn't say she owned anything. She didn't need to. The lie was just a record that didn't add up, and anyone who opened it could see it. And there was the turn of it. The note Lila had typed so confidently to push Imani out of the seat was now the thing that proved she'd faked it. She'd handed over the evidence herself. I want to be clear about something, Imani said, looking at Lila, her voice steady and without heat. You didn't do this because I did anything wrong. You did it because you figured I was someone who could be moved without anyone checking. The people before me couldn't read the log. I can. That's the only difference. Then she looked at the manager. And you, she said to Cole, you opened the system. You saw the field was empty. You still tried to walk me to the back instead of saying it out loud. That's not bad service. That's choosing the lie, because it was easier than fixing it. Cole looked at the floor. The consequences didn't come down like thunder. They came in plain, hard steps. Layla tried the thing. People try when the floor goes out. I followed procedure, she said, her voice climbing. I've got years here. I've got a union. Procedure requires the passenger's consent, Captain Lang said. That field is blank. That's your code on the entry, not anyone else's. He told her she was relieved of duty pending review. Right there. Cole tried to stand off to the side of it the way the manager always does. I was only trying to keep things moving, he said. Captain Lang didn't let it pass. You confirmed her ticket was valid and then told her to leave anyway. You had the truth open on your own screen. That's not keeping things moving. That's on your name, too. Cole was pulled off the gate and placed on review beside Lila. The man with clean hands didn't get to walk just because someone else did the typing. Then the airline's operations director, Renee Holt, got on the line. And she didn't ask for an apology first. She asked for the data. Every voluntary seat change note Lila Harper had entered over recent months was pulled and reviewed. The pattern came up the way these things do when somebody finally looks. The fake consent notes had landed again and again on the same kind of passenger. Black travelers, quietly moved out of seats they'd paid for, marked down as having agreed when they never had. The truth had been sitting in the system the whole time. It just needed someone with reason to open it. One of those names was Isabel Rivera, moved out of her seat on a previous flight on a note with an empty consent field. Her case was reopened. She was contacted, refunded, and her record corrected. The airline changed the thing that let it happen. A note saying a passenger agreed to change seats would no longer count for anything unless the passenger's own consent was logged with it. No consent field, no valid note. Imani didn't ask for anyone to be destroyed. She asked for two things: that the false note about her be removed and that the pattern be stopped. Both were done. Elena, the purser who refused to confirm the note, and Marcus, the passenger who spoke up, were both noted in the report for telling the truth when it mattered. Across the aisle, Miles Corbin lowered his phone. I posted a correction, he said quietly, and the part where I had it pointed at you first. Imani nodded. Good, leave that part in. When the cabin finally settled, the screen still showed the note, with that one empty line where her agreement was supposed to be. Imani sat back in 2A and looked out the window. A consent that never happened still left a blank space exactly where it was supposed to be. That blank space said more than anything Lila had typed over it. Imani had never needed anyone to know who she was to be believed. She just wanted the next person in seat 2A to have a record that could speak for them, too. This is a fictional story created for storytelling purposes.